All right, guys, we are about to call Colin Urbs, the developer of Framepack Studio. Of course, Framepack itself was created by a guy named Elias Veal, big brain Telosian fellow, but the but Colin Urbs is the guy that has taken it and turned it into a full studio pack for you guys and added features upon features and really cool stuff. So we're actually partnering with him. Get going fast, yo! So we're getting the insights. So where you gotta come to get the insights on Framepack Studio, and we're gonna go call him now, and he's gonna walk us through some of the new features that's going on. So very exciting. Let's go do it, yo. Hey there, Colin. It's Gary here. Hey there,
Can you
Colin.
hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yo, I have this thing
Okay.
that likes to switch between my Oculus and my headphones and all sorts of stuff everywhere except for where it's supposed to go. So, anyway.
Yeah.
Good to chat with you, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm going to share my screen with you really quick. So I told you I'm recording our voices right now, just so you know.
Yep.
All right, so you can't say in court, he didn't tell me that he was recording. So tell me really quickly, so Framepack just came out here just a little while ago, and it was pretty new. I mean, you must have just jumped on it and been like, had inspiration, been like, studio, I'm going for it, all in. I mean, how did that go?
Well, it really all started with the time-stamped prompts. To me, I was always waiting to be able to generate videos longer than, 8 seconds or whatever you could get up to in like Hunyan and Wan. And I just felt like everyone really underreacted to Framepack's ability to make infinitely long videos, basically. But not being able to have multiple prompts was really a hindrance to like using that new capability. So I sort of just had the idea, and I really quickly tried to code up some time-stamped prompts, and that seemed to work. And then personally, because I was using time-stamped prompts, I wanted a queue, and then that's just sort of all snowballed into what it is now. But really, it started with the time-stamped prompts and just feeling like the whole sort of local open source AI community was underreacting to this new breakthrough that Framepack let us make much longer videos.
Okay, yeah, cool. Obviously, so had you done this kind of stuff before when you were, had you done timestamp stuff before, or did you just jump into it and be like, I'm just
No,
going to learn how to do it?
I'm just a web developer by trade, and I've done that for a long time. And I've written all sorts of different software, so that's sort of already kind of in my wheelhouse. And I was familiar enough with Python to figure it out. But it's certainly a learning curve. I'm still learning lots about Python and Gradio and all that.
I'm sure your wife is very happy that you found another task to take all of your focus and attention on the computer.
Well, she's actually trying to learn how to play guitar right now, so it kind of works out. So she's off practicing guitar while I'm working on it.
Oh, well, good. Okay, well, a match made in heaven. That's great. Yeah, she can be your background music. Like everyone's got their theme music, right? So she'll follow you around with the guitar. Well, cool. So okay, you've been working on a bunch of updates to the app. I know that you are putting in hours every day. You go work a hard job and then come home and spend your time working on this. But I do know that to the layman's eye, a lot of this stuff we can't quite exactly see. It's not like boom, boom, boom. But you've done.
Well, I can tell you're not looking at the developed version right now. This is still an older version. Yeah.
Well, I was wondering about that. I did. Let me pause the video here and silly me. This is why I like hanging out with guys like you that are smarter than me. I hide underneath the banner of intelligence of other people. So let me pause this really quick and get this back up, and we'll get going again. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Hold on just a sec. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, and we are back, and Colin here has led the wayward soul back into the realm of proper GitHub repository. So we are actually looking at the developer version here. A little bit of insight you only get here at Get Going Fast. So, ha 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 ha. Now the screen here is not exactly what it's going to look like when this does release, but mostly. So we are going to get a heads up. Look at this. So Colin, why don't you walk us through some of the big stuff here? Just tell me what to do, and I will walk. I'll move. I'll be your mouse. Okay.
Sure, let's just go through the generation types first. Obviously, we still have original and F1. Original with Endframe. Those are all the same as they were.
Okay, really quickly, just give us a 2 sentence. A lot of people are confused about like the difference between these. So with just like 30 seconds, what exactly is the original and the F1 and the difference between the two?
Okay, so the original, so they're both using the Framepack methodology that was laid out in the Framepack paper, which essentially is using previous frames to influence new frames and compressing them and continuing to use them as a reference, which is sort of what unlocked the ability to make longer videos without as much drifting.
Right, and the original one started with the end videos, right? So that actually worked backwards, isn't that correct?
Yeah, that's sort of the key to the original is that it has the end frame in mind while it's generating the entire video, and that's what helps it stay consistent. So original generates a video backwards, so it generates the end of the video first, and then it works to the beginning of it. And F1 is simply the opposite. F1 is the same methodology of keeping the compressed previous frames to use them for reference, but it generates forward. And because it doesn't know essentially where it's going to end up, it does drift a little bit more. But original is very good at maintaining consistency and having very high quality outputs. F1 is much better at getting more dynamic motion. And I would say F1 is better at adhering to prompts a bit too.
Okay,
but
so
that comes
our
with
original,
the trade-off of it drifts a little.
Okay, so original is good because you can end up where you can end up where you're going, sort of a thing. And so there's that consistency. That the other one, though, you said gets more movement, probably because it's creating as it's going. Whereas, because I have heard like with the original, sometimes people will put something in there and then it's like they're like it sat for like 3 or 4 seconds without doing anything before it moved. So I would assume that's probably an issue with. So what's going to be? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, that's just sort of inherent to original. We do have some plans to address that in future updates and try to get more motion out of original. But the way all of this Framepack stuff works is this logic is essentially fine-tuned on top of Hunyan into the model. So we don't have a ton of control over it unless, we come up with the money to fine-tune ourselves. So it sort of is what it is to an extent right now. But I would say some of the big advantages of original are that you see the end first. So you can watch your first section and then decide if that's what you want and then, bail on the generation. If it's not.
Absolutely. That was one of the coolest things. You could be like, all right, I can already tell this is going to stink. So you just end it. Now, you said really quickly, you said the original starts with the end frame. Why do we have one that says original with end frame?
So original with end frame lets you define that final frame instead of it just coming up with it itself.
Okay, gotcha. So the other one, it generates the end frame for you. You give it the first frame, but out of that, it extrapolates where it's going to go. With this one, you can actually say, this is the one we're ending with, which is why when I click it, I have image drops for first and end.
Yes, you'll get different inputs for the different generation types depending on what they require. So as you click through, you'll see that your inputs will change a little bit. Most of them share the vast majority of inputs, though.
Okay, very cool. So moving on, then, so we got the F1. So we already know then that's the one that's moving forward. So it's more dynamic motion, more salt, I guess, or caffeine. I guess that was the frames. That was the context they used in LTX. It was like you added more caffeine or salt or pepper or whatever. What is the video thing then?
So video will take an existing video and extend it. So what we're doing is we're basically telling the program, we're acting as if it's generated the video you input, and then it's just generating more beyond that. So if you have a video that you like, but you need more of it, or you want to add a different prompt onto the end, this lets you put in a video, and then it will generate a video that almost seamlessly will extend the original video.
Awesome. So that's video to video. That's going to be huge. People love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and so what it also does is it gives you the ability to sort of assemble a video piece by piece, see what works, see what doesn't. And you could, run a bunch of different extensions on the same video and see which results you like more, change the seeds, change the prompts,
Okay, very
all that
cool.
sort of
How
stuff.
long does that take? Now, I got to
So,
assume that's kind of a long process to be generated. Say you threw a 3-second video in there. How many seconds is it going to extend by? And say on a 3090 or something like that, which is a pretty
well,
average.
so if you scroll down, you have all the same controls that you normally do. Collapse the presets because that's not going to launch with this update. It's in a
Where is
right
that?
there. It's an accordion. Go 2 down on the
I'm being
accordions.
I'm being a dip here. Okay, hold on a second.
Just where it says presets, the little arrow to the right of it. Go up a little bit.
There we go. Gosh,
Yeah.
I couldn't see that for some reason.
One arrow. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's coming soon, but not in this update. But so you can see here, you still have length and steps and all the normal things you'd expect. So it's essentially, its own video generation. It's just using the video you've given it as the starting point. And so when this finishes, you'll actually get 2 videos. You'll get one that's combined the original video and the additional extension, and then you'll get the extension on its own if you're going to edit them
so
together
it
yourself.
gives you
something
all,
like
and you
that.
can do whatever. How long do you think that takes on a 3090?
Generation times for videos generally don't get much slower than standard generations. You can think of it mostly as analogous to what a normal Framepack generation takes. The original's a little slower. The F1 version of video, which is another option that just does the same thing but with the F1 model, is exactly as fast as F1.
Okay, very cool. And then we can see here you've got video with Endframe. So that's going to be the same thing, I guess. You're going to throw that in there. I would assume.
Yep.
How do you expect? I'm curious about this. This is more personal, me kind of thing. Let's say I had a 3-second video, and I want to make that video go in a certain way. How would I be generating from an existing video and an end frame? Because you'd have to be having to use AI to create an end frame that doesn't exist. I mean, how does that? What's your
Well, when we get over to our post-processing tab, I can show you that you can do that in Framepack Studio now.
Oh, well, cool. Let's take a look at let's take a rabbit trail then really quickly, and we'll just pop over if that's fine with you.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so we're going to click here. All right, so show me what's going on in
So
post-processing.
first of all, I want to make clear that Framepack is not just me. There is a team of developers now who have graciously been contributing code and contributing great code. And this whole section is largely from someone else who built this. But
Okay,
it's
do you
an
want to give them a
amazing
shout out?
addition. I actually don't know their real name. I will contact them and ask them how they would like to be shouted out.
All right, that sounds great.
But you can always check our GitHub and the contributors, and it has everybody listed who's contributed.
Okay, very cool. So go ahead. So it takes a team, it takes a village to.
Oh, it absolutely does, and I'm so thankful for my team of developers and testers who are helping me with this. We definitely would not have gotten this far without them.
Awesome. Okay, well, show me what's going on here.
Yeah, so this is a full post-processing suite for videos. So you can use videos you've generated in Framepack or just videos you have. And so you can drop a video right there. And if you want to run through one, this part's pretty quick. So if you have a video ready that you can throw in there, feel free.
Okay, let me grab this one I just made of me getting hit in the face with a fish.
Perfect. Yeah, so you've got the Analyze Video button, which you can click and it'll give you some basic info about the video, which can be helpful if you don't know what frame rate it's at.
That's actually really helpful. That's the kind of thing like we get so stuck in comfy UI and stuff, and all the time you got these nodes you got to be putting in stuff like this. This is almost something I would load up just to throw a video in to get numbers for other apps that are requiring this stuff. But yeah, anyway, go ahead. That's very cool.
Totally. And so if you scroll down, you see the operations. And it looks like some of them are collapsed at your screen with. But so these are all the post-processing options that we have for videos. And so you've got upscaling. And we've got a couple different upscaling models.
Okay, yeah, your real ESRGN and all that. Yeah, that's basic face swapping type upscale stuff. Yeah.
Yep. So we can do all that upscaling, and it's pretty quick. And then what you're really talking about, what brought us over here, is the last one, the Frames IO, which gives us a bunch of tools to extract frames from videos. And And so you can see it can extract every end frame. So you can choose how many frames you want to extract. So that will really just dump frames as pictures.
And then, but then you'd still have to take it. So, okay, let's do extract frame 1. Let's see what it does. But you'd still have to take that then at some point and create an endpoint to move to, correct?
Yes, this won't help you do that, but it will pull frames out of videos that you can then throw in an image-to-image suite or something, and then generate an end frame. But that lets you get at frames in any video you have.
Okay, this probably isn't working because I've got so much AI stuff going on here with the...
If you scroll down, it has a console at the bottom, and I think it did work. Yeah, so it extracted every nth frame, so you put 1, so it extracted every single frame, and it shows you where it saved those.
This is where it helps to know what you're talking about when you say things like Endframes and stuff like that.
Yeah. So you can see we also have the ability, if you have a bunch of frames, to reassemble a video. So the reverse of what we just did.
Oh, so you could actually throw in a folder here or a bunch of different...
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So you could actually rearrange your video. You can get creative with it.
You could do you could extract all your frames, open the frames in Photoshop, do some crazy hand-done special effects or something, and then reassemble the frames into a video.
That's way cool. And that's the kind of thing then you actually could throw this into some other apps as well and then be doing stuff with. Okay, so really cool. This is the post-processing.
Yep. And so just to finish up on the operations, we got video filters, which work essentially, the same as I think you closed the yeah. So it's like like Instagram or social media filters. It'll filter the whole video. It'll change the brightness, saturation, whatever you want. And down at the bottom there are presets. So if you don't
this
know
is huge,
what
man.
you want,
like you weren't kidding when you said this was a big update. This is massive.
I know. It's big.
This is incredible. All right, so keep going.
So you got presets at the bottom of different filters that it comes with. And you can also save your own filters if you get settings that you really like. But it comes with some interesting ones. I think that this is default. So if you apply these, I don't believe it'll change the video. These are kind of just like the 0 values.
Okay, and then it saves these in a .json file or something like that. If you...
Yep, yeah. Click on the load preset drop down. You can see the ones it comes with. But also, if you develop one you like using the sliders, you can just save it right there, and then it'll be your preset. And yeah, it's just a JSON file, so if people want to share presets, they're easy to find and easy to share.
Awesome. Wow, that's huge. You really are. You weren't joking on the studio element of Framepack. So.
Yeah, we're really trying to make it so you can do a lot of stuff without leaving the app, so you could hopefully do like a more than just generating clips. So we want to be able to make like a video project eventually.
Yeah, well, it looks like you're on the way there going for that. So that's great. Where would you like to look at next here? I know your time is precious.
Let's just keep going through the post-processing because this is some of the bigger updates. And then we got frame adjust, which is the next one, which is basically frame rate interpolation. And you can also adjust the speed. So if you want, smooth slow motion, you can do that all here. Or
okay, so there's a lot of people that get into this and they don't know what things like interpolation mean. So in layman's term, explain to us what interpolation is.
So essentially, if you interpolate frames, you are looking at 2 different frames and guessing what goes in the middle by averaging them. So if you generated a video at 15 frames per second, maybe like WAN's default generations are 15 frames per second. And then you can bring it into here and frame interpolate it, and then it'll be running at 30 frames per second. So you'll get much smoother motion. Things will look much better. And because this is also taking into account the speed aspect of it, it's not going to speed up the video or slow it down when you change the frame rate unless you want it to.
Okay, so basically you're creating images to expand the length. Is that correct?
Yeah, you're sort of blending between every frame that exists to make more frames in the middle.
Is that essentially what Tcache does?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Is that essentially what Tcache does?
No, Tcache is a little bit different. Tcache is looking at how much of a change has happened from one run to the next and deciding if that step is worth taking or if we can skip it because it's not a big enough change.
Okay, so Tcache isn't an interpolation thing. It's a resource management.
Yeah, you can almost think of it as like a limiter. It's like looking at each step the generation takes and determining if that step is valuable enough to actually compute or if we should just skip it because it's not really going to impact the final video.
Okay, got you. Very cool. So, what is it? Those are like it's almost like an advanced attention mask or something.
Yeah, it's similar. And so yeah, Cache, you basically have your threshold option, which is, what's the threshold for determining that this is important enough to actually compute versus just using the cache version.
Okay, yeah,
and going
cool.
on to
Okay, so but anyways, back to this. So RIFE is what this technology is called.
Yep, that's the model that it's using. Yeah.
Okay, great. So, okay, sorry to interrupt you there.
No, you're good.
So go ahead here. So we've got no interpolation. We've got 2 times RIFE interpolation. Pick up where you were at.
Yeah, so no interpolation would just be if you wanted to adjust the speed of the video and not change the number of frames, you could drag that slider, run it, and it would change the speed of the video.
So it would actually go faster. So it'd be like if I was walking a certain pace in the video, I'd be walking a faster pace.
Correct. Yep. And if you have the interpolation selected, it's 2x interpolation, so it'll double the number of frames while also making the speed change if you've selected a speed change.
Okay, so if I just did the 2 times RIFE interpolation, but I didn't change the speed rate, I'm walking at x speed of x. I'm going to continue to walk at that same rate, but the video is I'm going to walk for a longer amount of time. Correct?
Yeah. Why don't we just run one on the video you have now so that you can see? Select 2x for the RIFE interpolation, and then click process.
This is me like going, I hope this doesn't crash my computer. I have so much AI. Whenever I make videos, I got so much AI stuff going on in the background. So looks like it's running pretty good, though.
Yeah, the post-processing is not too heavy, and we do have those stat bars up in the toolbar now, which is kind of helpful.
Oh, yeah, look at that. There you go. Yeah, you know what I always like? I'm going to admit, I always like it when they have a clear VRAM button up there because it can mess stuff up. You can end up crashing down when you shouldn't. But I'll tell you what, I've literally, so I'm a big rope guy. I like the software rope, it's face swapping software. I've literally loaded that up sometimes just so I can clear VRAM with it. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Okay, well, so now if you scroll back up, you'll see on the right side should be your finished video. And so that's the exact same video, the same length, but it has twice the number of frames. So in theory, the motion will be a bit smoother.
Okay, let's do our original here. There's the fish. There's the face. Okay, now let's. Yeah, it looks like it moved a little bit faster there. Can you see a difference there? Here, God, I wish I had.
There shouldn't be any speed difference. But what you can do is, you see that use process as input button?
Yep.
If you click that, it'll move your now post-process video back as the input. So now you can click analyze again, and you can see that it'll have double the number of frames.
Oh,
so it's now at 60 FPS.
So realistically, how many times could you interpolate this thing before it completely breaks down?
I haven't found the limit. I mean, I'm sure at some point you're just generating frames that aren't doing anything because the human eye isn't going to notice a frame rate above like probably 120-ish is where you're going to stop noticing differences.
So do you think this could actually like fix some stuff? Like, I'm a GetGoingFast guy. So like a lot of times I'm working on stuff and I just want to see if the model works. So I'm not concerned about a lot of frame. Sometimes I'll literally run stuff at like 10 frames per second, which of course is clunky, right? So if I threw something like that, then do you think it could actually smooth that out?
Yeah, it'll certainly smooth it out. You'll probably have a bit of an impact to quality as it gets farther from an actual frame when it's interpolating. But it'll certainly smooth it out. It's obviously not going to add details that aren't there, and you're probably going to get some sort of like blurriness or smoothness, particularly across motion. But yeah, you could take a 10 frame per second video and make it run smooth with this.
Okay, well, very cool, and that's all part of the studio now, and so you can sit there and play around with that. Tell me about this video loop really quick.
So that's really simple. It just makes your video into a loop, so that it'll start or end the same, or it can ping pong it. So this would be functionally very similar to using a start and end frame, because it'll make the video essentially play and then, reverse back to the beginning.
Okay, so like in Comfy UI, you can do a ping pong or a whatever on that, and it just goes. It'll go forward, then it goes backwards. So this isn't going to create. You're not going to set this to create a video that has a seamless beginning to end. You're just going to take a pre-existing video, throw it in there, and say, I want you to create a loop or a ping pong effect on it, correct?
Yeah, it's just taking the video, file as it is and altering it. And it also lets you loop it, multiple times or whatever you'd like. So this is probably the simplest of the post-processing options.
All right, very cool. And so this is all under the post-processing stuff. So we've been able to.
And we do have that button for Unload Studio Model. And so that's if you do need to clear the VRAM for any reason while you're in here. That'll unload all the generation models.
Okay, so that was the button that I was talking about then. So I could do that, and that would. But then you'd have to reload. So it actually unloads it, but then you'd add some time on your system because you'd have to then reload the model again.
Yeah, next time you generate, it would slow you down a little bit as you reload the model.
Okay, let's use this as the input here, and let's go back over to our analyze video. Oh, yep, and look at our frame rate went up to 120. My God, it's beautiful. That would be like in Zoolander when he makes the face Magnum.
Yeah. So I mean, I love the frame interpolation and the upscaling are certainly my favorite, because it just it lets you get things that are going to look really good on YouTube, and it gets around the fact that currently as is Framepack Studio can't generate super high res things.
Okay, and notice on your tile size for upscaling. This is one of the, we're not going to go into it, but this is one of the things at some point I need to explain to people, things like tile size and all that. But the auto, is it going to look at their system and see what they have? Because a lot of guys, they're like, man, I got like 12 gigabytes of VRAM, and they're wanting to do big videos. And I'm like, no, take it down small. Is this going to take into account their hardware and choose the lower option for them?
I will have to talk to the guy who devved this and find that out for you.
Okay.
I actually don't know what the back end of that audio.
Okay, well that's good. And by the way, all you guys out there that are running 12 gigabytes of VRAM and trying to do this stuff, first of all, Lord bless you and your endeavors. But again, as I said, choose your lower options.
Well, here's a big truth bomb for you. I have 12 gigs of VRAM.
No, say it's not so!
All of my testing I do on Framepack Studio is with 12 gigs of VRAM.
Okay, wow. This is where I'm going to have to pause the video and put like just a still image of me going, that's pretty wild. Okay, well, cool. Is there anything else you want? I'm very aware of your time. Is there
we're getting to the end of it. Outputs is largely the same, except it has a button now to send a video to post-processing. So if you click on a video, you've got a little button there, and if you click it, it will take you right over to post-processing, ready to alter that video.
Well, there you go. That's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. All right, fantastic. So outputs,
and then the other big thing, I mean, there's been a bunch of updates to the queue. The queue is no one's favorite part of the app. It's not the most exciting. It just sort of is what it is. But it's really where a ton of my time has gone into. There's a bunch of new additions to the queue. Obviously, you have nothing in your queue right now. But the queue does generate proper preview images for all generation types now. It's generally smarter. We've got the new cancel queue button, which cancels your whole queue. Clear complete, which does just what it says. Anything that's finished, errored, or canceled will just be wiped off the queue. And then the most exciting thing is export queue. If you have a queue that you really like, you can click that, and it will take all of your input images and all of the queue items and save them to a zip file, so that you could send that zip file to someone else who has Framepack Studio. and they could just run it in that import queue just to the right of that.
So it stores
drop
the images
zip in.
and it stores the prompts, and it puts it in things that someone else could import it and then generate the exact same things, but then play around in their own way.
Exactly. It's also very exciting to me because now there's a standardized queue and image format. It also means, if people want to write their own app that basically assembles a queue for Framepack Studio, they can do that too. It creates a lot more flexibility now that we can just hand around queues as a zip file.
I tell you what, as a kind of energetic, outgoing sort of fellow, it makes me think that this would be great for some kind of frame pack competition. Like we all get the same queue, and then we work on it, and we see who can generate and make the coolest thing out of the same import file.
That would be cool.
That would be cool. Okay, well, really quickly, let's. So that's awesome. The queue is great. We got our outputs, our post processing. Anything in settings that you want us to?
The only major change to setting, and this is kind of only going to be for technical users, is it's collapsed right now because it's for technical users. But the system prompt, there is a system prompt that is used to interpret your prompt and then is sent to the text encoder, which then encodes the results. So this, what you're looking at right now, is the default system prompt. So any prompt you type in first goes through this, and then the output of this is what actually generates the video.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah.
This
guys, stay away from this. Don't mess with it, yo.
Yeah, well, so before the release, we will have a button to restore the original system prompt because I completely foresee people messing with it and then wanting to go back. That's not in this version, but that is being worked on actually as we speak by someone else.
Okay, well, that's good to know. So going back to our generate. So we had our different models. We've gone through our video F1. We're going to work on some other stuff later that's not quite making it. But again, you got your advanced parameters. I skip over a lot of the advanced parameters a lot of times just because, again, I just feel like this is the kind of thing that's just going to get most of the people that I'm working with just want to make a picture of a pretty girl or want to make a dog running or, an explosion. But anything down here that we should know about?
It's all pretty much the same as it was. I don't know if T-Catch was exposed before. But the advanced parameters are hidden for a reason. You do not need to mess with those if you don't want to. There are reasons to mess with latent window size for people who are really experimenting with advanced prompts and things. Distilled CFG scale can also be turned up safely to try to get a little bit better prompt adherence. But because of the way Framepack is built, it doesn't have nearly as much effect as a CFG normally has.
Yeah, my experience with CFG stuff is pretty much leave it alone. Because generally, my experience again, and I just want the stuff to run, and most of the time it is set to where it needs to be, and if you mess with it, you get weird stuff. But I do want to, now you've piqued the interest, so I'm sure there's other people out there thinking, what is an advanced prompt example where you would want to change the latent window size?
So the latent window size defines the size of each section you generate at one time. So the shorter you make it, the fewer frames will be generated in a go, which also means the less VRAM it uses. So it would give you the ability to essentially squeeze more time-stamped prompts into an amount of time, since time-stamped prompts by default snap to the edges of a section. So with the latent window set at 9, each section you generate is 1.1 seconds. That's kind of the hard limit by default on how close timestamped prompts can be. They need to allow at least 1.1 seconds for a prompt to run.
Okay, so that's why you wouldn't do a timestamp thing of 1 second, 2 second, 3 second. It wouldn't fit like that.
Right, and so what it does on the back end is it doesn't tell you, but it sort of silently moves it to the closest section boundary that it can find. So no matter how you write your prompt, it will attempt to fit it into the sections.
Okay, so the way
this is essentially controlling the length of the sections.
Okay, so in other words, if you really were getting aggressive with your time stamping, you could lessen that so that you could fit more changes. But that seems to be like you would be getting into some pretty intense, long-winded prompts
Yeah, and as it gets
Very
smaller,
frustration.
you end up losing a bit of the uniformity across the video. Motions won't be as fluid between different sections. Overall, you lose fluidity in the video is the biggest downside of turning it down.
Okay. Now I
Some
did
people
notice.
love turning it up, I will say, because it lets you generate more video at once. But obviously, it would make you have to leave more time for each of your time-stamped prompts, and it would use more VRAM.
So let's say we turned this up to 15 then. Then we went up to here. So you're saying, so then right now these prompts are set for one every 2 seconds. So how would that affect our seconds up here?
I don't know the exact relationship between the latent window size and the number of seconds, but this prompt will still work, but instead of running... So right now, the first prompt is actually probably running at 1.1 seconds because that's the edge of the section. So it's generating one section with no prompt at the beginning, and then it's starting this prompt, and then about 2 seconds later, it's starting the next prompt. And so it would essentially just kind of space it out a little bit more because the prompts would still snap to the edges of the window, and you're making the window a little longer.
Does that help with actually getting the animation you want?
It can, but usually you'd be turning it down to get more adherence to your prompt rather than turning it up.
Okay, cool. All right.
But turning it up can get you slightly faster generations with a really long video if you don't need the time-stamped prompts and you're just kind of trying to generate as fast as you can. But it all depends on VRAM.
Okay, well, cool. I realized I turned my microphone off again. We'll wrap it up there, Colin. I want to thank you. I do want to pop over to Colin's Patreon page over here. And Colin over here is... this is the home of Framepack Studio, and this is a great place if you guys want to go and support the project. This is a great place. I like to think of it as a GoFundMe sort of a thing. Like the guy says, "Hey, I'm developing the software." What was the name of that? I'm developing the software, and you help him out with the money to get it out. So Colin is certainly he's spending time. He would like to make this a full go. Obviously, you can see. What he's done. So I would suggest coming over here and being part of his Patreon or donating to him in the midst of this project. Because, I mean, listen, if it ain't for these guys, it ain't for Colin and his team, there's no Framepack Studio. So I do appreciate guys for taking a look at that.
I just want to say, any bit of support is much appreciated. At this point, I'm still losing a bunch of money on this project between AI credits and cloud credits for testing in the cloud. This is not a cash flow positive situation at the moment, so anything helps, and I very much appreciate it.
Okay, well, I appreciate that as well, Colin. So thank you very much for spending your time to show us Framepack Studio and getting this out. Really quickly, tell us, when can we expect this to drop, yo?
I can say this week for sure. I'm a little reticent to get more specific than that, but hopefully the first half of this upcoming week.
Okay, so maybe by hump day we're having a new Framepack.
Yep.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thank you, Colin. I do appreciate your time and awesome work. I will catch up with you again. I want to appreciate you, by the way, partnering with us at Get Going Fast. So that is really cool of you, and I like it. I think it's a good thing going on. So, again, thanks for your time.
Yeah, sure thing, Gary.
All right. Well, I'm going to end the video here with Colin, and we'll come back and chat here in just one moment. Okay, so that was obviously an awesome interview. Cool guy, that Colin Urbs fellow. And he's going to get us back and let us know his team names because, of course, we want them to get credit for working on this stuff as well, yo. So do want to remind you that, as I said, Framepack Studio and Get Going Fast are working together. So you can come here and you're going to be getting the insights into the stuff that's coming on for anyone else. So we have an exclusive deal, yo. You're going to hear it here. Okay, this is the place, and we're going to build in a community around this. And I want to remind you that you can always get Framepack Studio over at Get Going Fast. So all you got to do is you just type in framepack.getgoingfast.pro. Yo, how easy is that? Okay, and it's going to bring you here, and we actually have installers here that you can grab. Okay, so If you're a farmhand member, okay, farmhand member is our, we have a prairie dog level, which is you can get some stuff, and it's, you get the news and all that good stuff. It's great to be a prairie dog, but with farmhand you get all the big stuff, and you get it all for free. You get everything. You can get Latent Sync and Magic Quill and Framepack Studio and all this. You can come over here and grab it. Okay, and this is going to work with both your 12, with your NVIDIA 50 series and your NVIDIA 30 and 40 series. Okay, I do want to point out here that when you install it directly from the repo, it does not have your Xformers, it does not have your Flash Attention, it does not have your Sage Attention installed. When you get the GetGoingFast installer, we have actually gone ahead and made sure that you have all of those. And those shave off some time, okay? You could lose a little bit of generation quality on it, but you can end up saving 20 seconds, 30 seconds. You know how this is. When you're doing these things, man, going from like 7 minutes or 6 minutes from 10 minutes, that's huge. Okay, so if you go to Get Going Fast, you go to framepack.getgoingfast.pro, you can get the full actual accelerator version is there. So all right, with that, I'm going to thank you guys for hanging in there. Exciting stuff, man. This AI stuff, we have come so far in the last year. I mean, it's incredible. I love it, and you guys are great, man. I'm having one of those Bud Light, you know, or not Bud Light, but I'm having one of those moments like, I love you, man. I don't know if you guys remember those old commercials, but I'm filled with love right now for you all because it's so exciting what's going on. So hang in there. Like you said, later in the week, we're going to have more of a definite date of when this is going to pop out. And then we'll be out there making all sorts of stuff. And when it does, let me know how it works for you. Come over to the Discord and share it. Send me messages and send me your safe for work stuff that you're working on because I want to see it. Yo. All right. With that, we're going to end it. I'm going to take the dogs to the river, and we will catch up with you on the other side. Yo.